Hi, I'm Dr. Colleen Andrus, and I'm a board-certified internal medicine physician, also board-certified in the field of obesity medicine now for 24 years. I'm a Get Fit 21 coach, and I love this program. How are we valuable? We are valuable if we have knowledge, and if we have knowledge, we can teach. And that is one of the ways that we can be very, very valuable to the challengers that we have in this wonderful 21-day program. I would like to teach you today a little bit about protein. The basis of this 21-day program is protein. We're using our Unicity Lean Complete Protein every single morning, and for the first week, we're using it twice a day. So why is it so important to have protein in our diet, and why is it even more important to use the Lean Complete, and what makes our Lean Complete so special? Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about the requirements for protein. And the basic requirements have always been physiologically somewhere between 1.2 grams per kilogram and 1.5 gram per kilogram, with the minimum being 0.8 per kilogram, all the way up to about 2.5. That's kind of the extreme. But the American Obesity Society in the fall made a very, very simple recommendation when it comes to fat loss and the use of protein. So basically, protein makes up every single cell in our body. Our DNA is made of protein. 50% of the protein in our body is in our muscle mass. And then we've got cellular functions and metabolism and many other functions in our body. So protein is absolutely essential all the way down to our DNA. So the Obesity Association basically has made a statement that states, if you are trying to lose weight and you want to lose fat weight, and we're really looking at fat weight nowadays compared to just scale weight, because that's what we want to get rid of. We want to get rid of that stored fat in the middle of our bellies, right? So number one, we always have to be in a calorie deficit mode. If we're not taking in less calories than we're burning, you're never going to lose weight. Simple energy equation. Nobody's ever going to be able to change that. It's the law of physics, okay? So we must still take in less calories than what we are burning. So if you are taking in less calories and if you are in a calorie deficit mode, you're going to lose one of two things. It's going to be either muscle or fat. And in order to maintain muscle and not lose any of that muscle while we're taking in those fewer calories, or we're exercising to burn more calories, so we're in a calorie deficit mode, the minimum amount of protein that everybody needs is 90 grams of protein a day to minimize and prevent muscle loss. Now, there are certainly some people who need a lot more than that. But at minimum, to prevent muscle loss, we must have 90 grams. Now, in order to get 90 grams of protein and still stay in a calorie deficit mode, we need to be eating what we call nutrient-dense foods. If we are not getting an adequate protein and we are in a calorie deficit mode, we're going to lose some muscle mass. We'll probably still lose some fat, but you're going to lose a little bit of both, and then you're going to end up with a smaller version of you. And that's okay if you don't have fat in your belly, but if you have fat in your belly, then that's what we want to target. So we don't want to lose muscle. We have the muscle in our arms and our legs and our buttocks, okay? So we want to lose what we've got in the middle, and that is fat. So to force the fat off the body, we must have adequate protein in light of a calorie deficit. And the only way we can do that and stay in that calorie deficit mode is by having protein-dense food, meaning high protein, low calorie. Number one choice is still the animal proteins. Now, certainly there are some animal proteins that are not very healthy for us because they're real high in fat. So we want to try to avoid those, but we got to stick to our chicken and our fish, our seafood. Those are going to be our high protein, nutrient dense foods, but still fairly low in calories. We can throw in some red meat now and then. Okay, not a bad thing. It's a great protein source if it's a lean cut. But again, we want to try to minimize those red meats and try to really stay with the chicken and the fish and their seafood. Now, our second best source of what we call nutrient-dense food that is still low calorie, it used to be dairy, but actually now it is our protein supplements, our protein powders. And the reason that has moved up in the list is because we have such better protein supplements than we ever used to have before. And what's been discovered is that if we use proteins that are blended, a blended protein is a protein supplement that consists of multiple different types of proteins. And what makes that so special is that each and every one of those different proteins are absorbed at different rates. And when they're absorbed at different rates, it keeps our metabolism higher much longer, and it keeps us satisfied much longer between meals. So if we have a simple whey protein, that whey protein is the very first thing that's going to be absorbed. It's not going to last us very long. It's great for a recovery protein. But if you're going to do a meal, if you're going to have a protein supplement as a meal replacement, it must be a blended protein. A blended protein is going to be lower in calories. It's going to give you every nutrient that you need. It is going to have all the different proteins that keep that metabolism revved up long enough and keep you satisfied between meals. Why do we call lean complete lean complete? Because it's a blended protein. There is a little bit of soy, there's a little bit of whey, there's casein protein, milk protein, 6 different vegetable proteins. You can't get much better than that. So that is why we start off our days in this 21-day challenge program with the Lean Complete. And in the first 2 weeks, okay, we're going for 2 shakes a day, right? Because we want to get our body into ketosis or fat burning. Now, some might ask, is there too much protein? Basically, our kidneys can handle up to almost 300 grams of protein a day. That's a lot. And that's really meant for our bodybuilders and people who are really actively exercising a lot. So again, minimum amount is 90 grams. Now, what they did was they took that 90 grams and they did a study. They did several studies actually, but the study that gets quoted is they took that study and they allowed one group of people to eat that protein whenever they wanted. And another group of people ate it in equal distribution of 30 grams per meal, 3 meals, no snacks. They measured protein synthesis, metabolic rate, thermogenesis, all these metabolic factors, and they found that those who ate 30 grams of protein per meal and ate it at mealtime, no snacks in between, got in 90 grams of protein minimum, were much more metabolically active and had higher metabolisms and higher metabolic rate than the group that ate the 90 grams whenever they wanted throughout the day. So, bottom line, we have a great protein source that we can utilize. Okay, we've got the Lean Complete. It is a blended protein. 2 scoops gives us 20 grams of protein. We may want to increase that to 3 scoops or add something else that's going to add a little more protein to get that 30 grams. Our third best source is going to be our nuts, our beans, and some of our leaner dairies like cottage cheese and our plain yogurts and things like that. But I could talk about protein for days, and it gives us such a metabolic advantage for thermogenesis. It improves our body composition. It improves our satiety. It keeps us satisfied. It reverses the metabolic syndrome. And that's why we must have protein at every single meal with a minimum of 30 grams. So let's go get them. in this 21-day challenge. And let's start that day with the best protein out there, and that is the Unicity Lean Complete.